Which comes first? Does the way we view the world shape how we view ourselves? Or does the way we view ourselves shape how we view the world? For Gen Z, the two are completely intertwined. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Gatesman's Gen Z Reframe video series, where we're sharing out results from our research study to help you better understand the Gen Z mindset and learn insights and tips to help better market to this important audience. I'm Susan English, Director of Strategic Communications at Gatesman, and I'm excited to walk you through what I thought was the most illuminating aspect of the research, Gen Z's self-concept. In this section, we'll consider how Zers grew up and how this influenced what they think about themselves and the world around them today. I can almost guarantee that this overview will be filled with many, yes, that makes sense moments, and will increase your understanding of why Gen Z exhibits many of the opinions and behaviors we'll review in future segments of this series. So let's dive into what makes Gen Z so distinct from generations prior. The single most critical defining factor shaping Gen Z is the young age at which they had access to their phones. Think about the difference in just one generation. Millennials received their first phones on average at age 17, and it was a flip phone. Gen Zers received their first phones on average at age 12, and it was a smartphone, putting the entire digital world in the palm of their hands during their most formative years for developing their identities and views of where they fit into the world. The most prominent headlines of the day translated into what Zers now report as the most stressful news topics in their lives: mass shootings, rising suicide rates, climate change, and sexual harassment and assault. Not only do they have access to news headlines younger and more directly than any prior generation, they also saw commentary through social media, amplifying much of the worst in people. You can follow the psychological impact of resulting fears driving their emotional states and ultimately shaping their views of and goals for the future. So, fear and uncertainty translate into caution and anxiety, which leads to security-seeking behaviors and reinforces life goals on the basics, which is why we see leading a financially comfortable life is the top life goal for this generation, and why we see Zers reversing trends and working part-time jobs and multiple jobs at higher rates than the last two generations. The focus on finances is also why many Zers are questioning the value of incurring debt for higher education. Being exposed to a high volume of negative news and endless comparisons to peers through social media has also led to a sense of helplessness among Zers, resulting in a lack of agency, low drive, and depression. No wonder achieving positive mental health is their second highest life goal, and why so many say they don't have space for second-order goals, such as marrying or having children. We see the strain of these emotions impacting Gen Z's self-concept at a macro level. For this research, Gatesman completed an analysis of MRI Simmons Fall 2023 data, identifying how people in the Gen Z age group describe themselves contrasted with responses for all other ages. You see the percentage of Zers who agreed with each description in parentheses and how that response indexed versus the population in general in brackets. What we find is that Gen Z has some good things to say about itself at about the same or slightly lower rate than other age groups. For example, more than 90% of Zers describe themselves as honest, kind, smart, and open-minded. However, a significant minority also self-described with negative characteristics, and here they vastly over-indexed against the general population. 61% describe themselves as awkward, 21% more than others. Nearly half say they are tense or nervous, high-strung, forgetful, and careless. And they are 20 to 30% more likely than others to say this. We also found it notable that a quarter of Zers describe themselves as egocentric and self-centered, and are nearly twice as likely to say this than other generations. Guess all those selfies are taking a toll, but what a great job having the self-awareness to realize it. This high anxiety theme was corroborated when looking at population-level personality attributes. We have access to this analysis through our Meltwater Audience Insights subscription, which crosses high volumes of social conversation with IBM Watson data to profile a population's psychology. What we see here is that Z is slightly more neurotic, meaning sensitive to the environment. They're a population more prone to worry, susceptible to stress, and self-conscious. They are also less agreeable, which means less trusting of others and less likely to accommodate them. Gen Z is also less open to new experiences. This is driven by a high desire for consistency and concreteness, so the security-seeking practical side coming through. The fact that we are seeing these significant, consistent differences in Gen Z's self-concept, even when evaluating such large volumes of data, is truly significant and demonstrates how important understanding this psyche will be to relating to this audience. So further diving into self-concept, we conducted a whiteboard exercise with our Gen Z focus group. We asked them to shout out terms used to label their generation and to comment on whether the terms were accurate or whether they would like to add other terms not commonly used to describe them. Their responses underscored findings from throughout the focus group that Gen Z feels relatively misunderstood, and that a more positive take is warranted once the context of what their generation has faced is understood. Unsurprisingly, they tended to agree on many of the positive terms used to describe their generation. Open-minded, yes. Progressive, definitely. Diverse. However, when the terms moved to be less complimentary, there were corrections. Not sensitive, but aware, knowing just how powerful words and actions are in today's digitally amplified world. Not lazy, motivated, just in different ways and by different motivators than you might expect. Not opinionated, present. They really care about the topics making headlines, so of course they come across strong. And finally, not difficult, boundaries. We'll talk more about that one in a future video. The participants also suggested some new terms to be considered, such as vocal, wanting to speak up when witnessing injustices. Strong. We don't take BS from anyone, one of my favorite quotes. Active. Wanting to make a difference, particularly in the areas of environment and mental health. You'll see these themes come through in the rest of the research as we explore Gen Z's reaction to several trends being touted about their generation, starting with the new American dream, next up in our video series. Stay tuned, and don't forget to put questions in the comments so we can answer them in an upcoming Q&A event. See you soon.